Hello and welcome back to Mind the Gap, episode 13. We did 3 episodes in First Stand, but now we're back in our home countries, Germany for Vedius, America for
Definitely
Jatt.
not my home country.
Yeah, my home country is Canada, and yours is the UK.
You're correct.
Anyway, I realized we actually do have a few new viewers from First Stand. So the concept of this podcast originally was that we were going to catch each other up on LEC and LCS because those are the regions that we cast. But now we talk about international topics when it's relevant, which I think is today because we're just coming off First Stand. But the last podcast we did was right after G2 had beaten GenG, and it looked like they were going to surpass 2019 G2. That didn't happen.
No,
So
it did,
we're here.
technically.
It did no.
It's better than their world run, objectively.
Yeah, it is. It is. Well,
No, it just is. They went
because
they won 7 games in a row, which they didn't do
Okay.
against Korea, China at Worlds 2019. But it was the exact same scenario. Best of 5, down 1, best of 5, SKT, best of 5, FPX. And this time we did the same thing, except we went 3-0, 3-0, and we got a game.
you
Which
did.
is already an improvement. So,
But
also before all that, we have to do the intro, which you always forget. We're live every
true.
Tuesday on Vidi's Official. If you want to watch live, join the chat. People have a great time in there. We're all wonderful. And then if you're watching live, you can check out the VOD on JLXP, his YouTube channel, where we upload pretty much immediately after the show is done. Today we're a little bit early if you are live because life stuff is happening, and I am a little bit under the weather, so I apologize that my energy is a little bit low, but we're gonna soldier on and get you the content that you so desperately want and hear my strong opinions on how EU is now the greatest region in the world.
I mean, I don't want to be a hater, but surely Worlds is more impressive than First Stand finals. Like
How is
making
it
World
different?
final versus making First Stand final because of the
Just the
time between the
title?
series. No, I think the time between the series and the
You
overall
think that makes
like,
it
prestige and
harder, the
pressure
gap
of the
between
tournament.
the two?
I think winning. Yeah, I think I'd be more impressed if G2 beat like BFX in quarters and then a week and then GenG in semis and then a week and then had the final that they had. I think that's more impressive than doing it in 3 consecutive days because you can kind of ride the wave throughout the tournament. Whereas once you have the week in between, it just gives so much more time to like get nervous and scout and prepare things and practice new strategies. So
I feel like
I
you're
think
already
if you're
downplaying
peaking
our
hard,
achievement. That's what I feel. I feel like you're already trying
see, this is
to
like I was saying, I'm
lower
not
our
trying to be a
expectations.
hater.
No, I feel like you're exactly
But
being a hater.
no, you're
actually.
trying to be a hater on Perks and Yankos
Sorry,
and that roster.
what?
Who had a
No.
more you're
They
hating the old
won
G2, saying the new
MSI,
G2
okay?
exactly, which is greater. But MSI was a fast tournament like First Stand, so it's
Listen,
never going to be the
sorry.
same as Worlds.
Why are we coming in with this level of hostility here, Jatt? Why can't we just
Hostility?
celebrate? This is the most successful EU's been in 7 years, okay? That's a thumbs
Facts.
up. Okay, that's a thumbs up. And also, we literally did the last podcast where you were like, do we think some of the performances give conversations to like best player in the world, goated performances? That's what we said in the last podcast, to remember how much of a momentous occasion this was.
It's true.
Right.
And now,
And then they got a
that-
game off BLG, which was better than Caps has ever done in an international final against
dude,
an
he
LPL
played
team.
so well in that first game. His Aurora,
And the second one.
That was one of the best Aurora games I've ever seen. And then, essentially, as soon as Caps died in game 2, the series ended.
Well, I think the game
in
ended
essence.
in draft, personally. I don't know. I hated that
Okay,
draft
let's
in game 2.
no, let's
I hated the
let's
game 3
recap
draft
the
too.
series. I know it's painful, but let me because I actually wanted to do this as I was watching. I want to see if you feel like the series was over or if it was close. Because for me, I had feelings as well of like fear that G2 was going to win. So I'll give you like the players and teams that I was scared of, and I want to hear what
Sure.
you were scared of or what you think was doing well, and I want to know how our experiences differed.
Okay. Am I starting or
So
are
what?
you?
What was wrong in game 2? So game 1 was basically a
okay,
really close
here's
game.
what I'll say. I think there's a world where EU could have been 3-0'd again. Okay? Just to be super
sure.
clear. Because that first game, like that Baron fight, G2 played incredibly well. I'm not saying they didn't deserve to win that game. All I'm saying is, like, it was a very even game, very back and forth. But then, like, when BLG just ran at us in mid lane and then got 2 kills. Like that was
Yeah,
just so bad. They had Baron buff, they were sieging. Like it was from their position, they should have been able to win with the lead that they had. Um,
sure.
I remember the Yorick gets caught and then they have to fight 4 versus 5. And then like
Yeah.
just some really good decision making. Like Knight, I think, underperformed in that game 1 and they really took advantage of that. And then they mechanically actually outplayed BLG around the Baron, which was super impressive.
Hmm. Hmm.
But like that series could have been a 3-0 in favor of
Game one
LPL.
could have definitely gone either way because
Yeah.
G2 had a 3,000 gold lead at 26 minutes, but then BLG had a 2,500 gold lead at 33 minutes. Bin was terrifying that whole time on
Yeah.
Gnar,
Precisely.
but Caps was equally, if not more, terrifying. Like Caps,
Yeah, I mean, he
Skumond, and the Brav.
basically he
Game
in
one
my
was insane.
opinion, he won the game. Like he just won
Yeah.
the game. Is what like he kept them alive in the mid game when things were getting really chaotic. He kept finding a lot of really
Hmm.
great picks, and like I think he was mega superstar in game 1. And then game 2, I just think like I basically just
I'll
hated the
read through the
whole.
drafts really quick.
Sure.
It was Broken Blade on Zehen, Skumond on Mundo. The rest of G2's comp was LeBlanc, Corki, and Bard. And then BLG had. This was the Gwen game? Yeah, this was the
Yeah.
Gwen global game. Yeah, Gwen, Pantheon,
Yeah.
Galio, Ezreal, and support Shen.
So basically, I just really game 1 created a bit of a curveball because they first picked Lulu, and so because BLG first picked Lulu, G2 had to
Hmm.
make a choice about whether they fight into the Yunara or they take it away, and they chose to take it away. So they then
Yep.
ran Yunara Nami
Yep.
into Lulu Ezreal
Sivir.
Sivir.
Lulu Sivir.
Right,
Yep.
lose of it. So, what that did for the rest of the draft was make things a bit wonky. Because now Corki, while still a strong AD carry, just became a
Hmm.
little bit weird. Aphelios now kind of disappears because Aphelios doesn't really have, outside of Thresh maybe.
Hmm.
And also, you've still got Ezreal, and you've still got, what was the other really important one?
Karma.
Yes, you still got
Ashe.
Ezreal and Karma. And the Ashe and
Yeah.
Seraphine was still up because BLG was permabanning the Ashe. So the AD
Yeah.
carry thing was very weird. And so in game 2, they first picked Bard with this idea that we want to make sure we can have winning bot side without prioritizing the Nico. So they're like, we'll grab the Bard, right? And then, but I think that they should have just put a higher priority on the Ezreal, personally. Like, I think the likelihood of On taking the Bard away seemed very low to me. And when you already see the
Mm.
Pantheon locked in, I felt like that the prio, if they wanted to have like something on bot that was safe, they should have prioritized the Ez. So I really strongly disagree with their approach in prioritizing the Bard, because then they ended up with a Bard Mundo Corki first half, and I was like, what is this comp supposed to do? Like, Corki does not have enough peel with the sheer amount of dive that's going through. And then I think BLG played the other game so smart because they just leveraged the fact that like, I'm Pantheon your Mundo, you don't do anything at level 1. And then On, like, that play, when they invaded the jungle, that could have gone horribly wrong for the Pantheon, but then On saves the whole play with his Shen.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, like, On and Shen, I actually think are the goats of this team. I think that, like, I know we'll talk a little bit about it later, but to me, like, Shen should have been player of the series. I think that On had a really good series as well. And I think that they were the reason why that game became so difficult. Because even though as far ahead, like, LeBlanc Mundo just doesn't make any sense to me, man. Like, if we're doing LeBlanc, let's pick Jarvan, or let's pick Vi, or let's pick Pantheon, or let's pick Xin. Like, just pick shit that
Okay.
fights with the LeBlanc. They're supposed to be skirmish champs. They're supposed to be stuff that gives you agency to do things. And my Mundo can't do anything. He can't gank. He can't roam. He's just farming. He's just farming. He's supposed to be this wall that you use later on, which LeBlanc, I think, can't leverage at all. Meanwhile, LeBlanc's playing into fucking Galio Shen. And we already saw the Shen. We knew the Shen, and we knew that he'd counterpick with Galio. Like, what else is he going to do? I don't know. I hated the draft. I thought Game 2 draft was unplayable.
Jeez,
I hated
that's
it
so
much.
interesting. So your take aligns with the conversation that, I mean, the cast had because you were casting.
Yeah.
But then also the conversation that I had online of, oh my God, the Avengers, there's so many globals, this is unplayable. I thought the scaling of G2 was really scary the whole time. I kept thinking that Skumond was getting gold and that Broken Blade, if he just gets a couple kills, was going to take over because I thought that the BLG comp was actually really low damage. So I was really worried that
Sure.
Mundo was just going to hit this point where him and Zehen could just 2v5 team fights, and then it almost doesn't matter what Caps and Hansama do.
But they gave
That's what
up
I
too
thought was
much.
going to
I mean,
happen.
sure, and like domestically, maybe that would have happened, but BLG played too fast for that to be reality.
Yeah, BLG played really fast and really well, but like I think the game was in tension almost the whole time, especially once at like the 37-minute mark when BLG overcommitted onto Skimon and didn't kill him
Yeah,
and gave over a bunch of bounties.
for
They did
sure.
have the Cloud Soul, which made it so the game then just ended like 3 minutes later anyway.
Yeah, when they won
But
that fight top, I
yeah,
genuinely thought maybe there was a world where they could do something. But then I said in the cast, like, BLG just needs to go back to finding picks on sides, and then they immediately find a pick on side. They,
for sure.
I think they
Yeah.
killed them
No,
under
I
bot
was
lane,
really
actually.
scared. I was really scared of the Skumundo that game for sure. But I do hear your perspective of the like Mundo LeBlanc is a trash combo. But like that whole early game, Knight had negative pressure. He was just constantly like
Sure.
20% health under his turret, unable to shadow either side of the lane.
Yeah.
But yeah, Shun did a lot of work. But even I've seen so many games where a Pantheon will start with like 4 or 6 kills against another jungler who scales better, and then the first time the Pantheon dies, the game ends
Sure.
because he'll just give over the gold and then immediately get outscaled. But Shun, he did die once, and then the
Shun.
game didn't end. Shun,
Like pun.
Shun,
Shun.
Shun.
Yeah.
Uh-oh,
Yeah. It's like
I'm
you saying
canceled.
Vedius, basically. That's what you're saying right now.
I could start.
Let's not.
I could start doing that.
Let's not
Yeah.
do that.
All right,
Yeah, no,
VDS. What happened in game three?
I don't remember game three. I remember we got stomped.
Okay,
Oh,
game
that was the one
three.
they gave up Ash Seraphine. That made me mad too.
Game three was the only game that I wasn't nervous that G2 was going to win. I felt like BLG won the whole time. That was Jax, Xin, Shin, Mel, Ash Seraphine against Sion, Aatrox, Anivia, and then they did Varus Karma. This
Yeah.
was the weird one because the whole. I like that we're revisiting the drafts a little bit because I felt like Ezreal Karma beat Ash Seraphine, but I don't think any other Karma pairs necessarily beat Ash
So
Seraphine.
I think
And all the bot lane pairs got disrupted this draft based on what you said happened in game one and game
I
two.
think like Varus, like Azale and I had a bit of a back and forth about this. I think on the cast because he was kind of convinced that Varus Karma can get prio, but the only reason why I disagreed was because Seraphine has sustain, and it's not a lot. Like admittedly,
I
I
think
haven't
you
played
can.
Seraphine support for a while.
I think you probably can get prio just because of the power of Karma.
But
And then-
regardless of what should happen, what didn't happen was they didn't get Brio.
Yeah.
They just lost.
Correct.
They lost the 2v2. Like
Yeah.
there was a point where Varus just flashes. Like I think he tries to contest a wave that's pushing into him, and then Viper just walks at him with the whole wave coming up behind him, and then he just has to flash. But that game, like I just the thing that irritated me was they already showed against GenG that they play MF Naught as an answer into Ash Seraphine. They themselves banned the Naught. They banned it.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
so I'm like, so hang on a second. The thing that you've shown us twice, both your answers to Ash Seraphine was Senna Nautilus and then MF Nautilus. And now you've banned Nautilus when they've
Correct.
decided to leave up both available. And G2 also had first pick. So they could have picked Ash or they could have picked Seraphine. And I thought that that's what they were going to do. And I'm assuming that G2 saw that the Varus was left open and they just said, we think Varus is stronger. Or they think that Hans is
Yeah.
better at Varus than he is at Ash. But I think giving over both the Ash Seraphine, like, I mean, this might be a hindsight Andy type of deal, you know, where I'm like, on paper, in theory, Varus Karma in traded for Ash Seraphine shouldn't, in theory, be that bad. I don't know.
Right.
Again, I might be very much talking about a hindsight Andy, but they ended up basically just losing the bot lane 2 versus 2, which is kind of what I'm salty
Right.
about.
And then
Basically.
Ben did like call Jax, and the early lane was close, but then he outscaled, and then the game just ended up being one-sided. We don't need to spend that much time on.
But what
on
was
game
mid?
three.
What was mid?
Mel versus Anivia.
Oh, the Anivia. I remember. So
It's
that
a
was
tricky game for
my
It's a
issue
tricky
with-
game for Anivia to play.
My
for
issue
sure.
with game 2 and game 3 was G2 was just too slow. That was my problem. Like, I feel like G2 should have put way higher prio on Ari Vi, for example. Like, when they saw the Pantheon, I would have loved an Ari Vi response. That, in my head, would have been the best
Vi
play.
was banned first 3 by BLG game 3.
Oh, okay. But then I think
Yeah.
they should have done Ari Zin or something.
Sure.
Like, I kept talking about it in the draft, and I felt like Ari was so high prio, and then they just didn't play her. They didn't want to play her.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, I just felt like
Yeah, they
G2
honestly
played
could have. They could have even first picked Zen in game three
in
because they
game
first picked
two and
Varus
game
and then it was
three. I
mashed
think that
with
they
Ashe,
drafted too
Ashe Zen.
slow. Basically, I think they drafted way too
Okay.
slow. I
Yeah.
felt like that they needed way like because after game one, my biggest compliment to G2 was that they were actually fighting BLG. Like if you
Hmm.
contrast when we cast GenG, the comment was all about how patient they were. Whereas against BLG, I felt like, oh my God, they're actually fighting them. You know, like they're contesting, they're cross mapping, they're challenging. Like they're not just letting BLG run the rift. They're actually doing the right things and they're actually leveraging
Hmm.
and trusting the mechanical press to outplay them. And then games 2 and 3, I just felt like they didn't have any tools to contest them. They were just basically
Right.
put behind and there was no way for them to fight. And they were just kind of in a losing spot for the vast majority of the game. And so that's why I was
Mm.
super frustrated with 2 and 3. And I was kind of optimistic in game 4 because I was legit saying to myself, like, oh, they don't, like, there's not enough power picks anymore for BLG for them to just keep drafting these oppressive champions. So Shun has to play
Hmm.
something that slows down and the bot lane can't be guaranteed to get a winning bot lane 2 versus 2. Um, and then that motherfucker locked in Camille. I fucking knew it was coming, man. I fucking saw
Game
it.
four, Camille, Vi, Cassio, Zaya, Alistair versus Cassante, Wukong, Victor,
Dude, they
Kaisa,
inted. They inted in the
Rakan.
jungle, and I was so excited. I was like, "Oh my god, BLG have completely thrown this game. It is so mega
They did.
winnable.
They
It is
did.
so so
G2 had a
so mega winnable."
3,000 goal lead of 15 minutes. I
And
thought
then
this
the
was the game where it was
and then
won.
the Baron was so int by BLG as well. And if we just land the smite, they can't end the game. Even if they win that fight around Dragon, they just the only reason why they win is because they managed to keep a Baron. Oh, that game 4 was so sad. I was like, nice, this is winnable. This is super, super winnable. I thought that like actually we
Hmm.
can manage the Camille. They're way too far behind. The Cassio doesn't do anything. We're actually completely fine.
Yep.
And then yeah.
Kaisa's starting to get fed as well.
I can't believe they ended the game off that Dragon, man. I genuinely didn't think they could. I thought they were inting because it was 4v5 at Dragon, and I thought it was there's no way they
Yeah.
can win this. But
No, it's
they do
true.
in fact win the whole game off of it.
That was like it was one of the faster ends to international tournaments we've like almost ever seen because it did really feel
Anticlimactic,
like
yeah.
from 15 minutes to 25, even though BLG was clawing their way back, it felt for a while like G2 was just going to win at some point because the Victor was coming online and Hans Sama had good items. Even Broken Blade was like
He was
not
like
really
4-0
falling that far
on
behind the
Kai'Sa.
Camille.
They just kept getting
Yeah,
kills.
exactly. And then, yeah, it just kind of snapped to being like the fastest game of the series, which was really weird. So, I mean, it seems like the biggest differences in the way we saw the series is I was much more scared of game two than you were.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're pretty aligned. And the game four was weird. But the thing about game four is I think the macro from BLG was more impressive than I would have expected.
In game
Because that's a
4?
game where they fell behind. Game four, yeah, because
Brother,
they
they
came from
ran it
15
down
minutes.
most of the game. What are you talking about? They mega
What do you
inted
mean?
for most of the game.
Post 15 minutes, when you're down 3,000 gold with a split pushing comp, like the Camille, when you're not even ahead of the Cassante, to win that game in 26 minutes, that's definitely impressive macro.
I mean, they got one good fight. They still had a Baron up, and then they just ran bot because Camille spent most of the game split pushing.
No, from
I
15 to
wasn't impressed
21,
their macro.
it wasn't the Baron.
If
and
anything,
they
their
closed the
macro was
3,000
good
gold
in
lead.
like that. Game 3 was their best demonstration of good macro in my opinion.
I guess, because it was just a stomp. They just did
Well,
it from
was
start
just,
to finish.
the way that they actually execute. Because I thought game 2 they were like way too slow. I thought they were way too respectful of G2. And I think that they were like super hesitant for more. I guess they were just scared about LeBlanc. They basically didn't want Viper to just die.
Yeah.
But game 3 I thought was like ultimately a mega clean game from BLG. Game 4 I thought was a shit show from them. They should have lost is my take. I
Well,
think they should
the
have lost.
invade in the jungle was a shit show. I think
But this is
when
my
they
whole
did
point.
that invade,
Shun saved the game. Shun was the one that landed the smite steal. Shun is the one that ultimately, like, sure, he did go quite deep on that play, but I don't think that was his call. I think that was another call from his teammates.
okay, player of the series then. I am a staunch bin defender for this.
Sure.
And you were a staunch
I think Shun should have had player of the series for sure.
Shun defender.
I think that
I think they obviously both played well, but I
Yeah,
did to
obviously,
me every game is somewhat designed around bin becoming a win condition, which is extra impressive when I feel like we went through a whole a whole like winter, I guess, of top lane not mattering.
sure.
And then frequently they would devote resources more towards the top lane at the expense of like Viper, which is almost insane. And then they win the tournament around that because bin, even in the NAR game when they lost, was the force that they needed, that G2 needed to stop. They did a full global comp around Bin's Gwen. His Jax is always insane, and then they picked Camille in the last game and kind of won through split push pressure.
Sure.
Jungle and top lane are tied into that, but I'm going to give it to the top laner because nobody has done that.
I think it's irrefutable how well he played.
How well
I think
Shun played.
Bin.
Okay.
Like, I'm not here to challenge that aspect of it.
Yeah.
I just think that Broken Blade is way worse than he is. So I think that he is made to look better. Whereas coming into this game, the conversation of is Skumon the best jungler in the world happened. And I think Shun was still able to outperform. So I think that, like, when you think about that context, right? When we think about the fact that Knight solo killed Caps the first time they met, multiple times. And then in the rematch, Caps bounces back and then even gets a solo kill of his own in a matchup that really shouldn't be solo killable because it's LeBlanc versus Galio. Like, that to me shows that they're both exceptional mid laners where both could get the better of one another depending on the day and depending on the game, right?
Okay.
And coming into this conversation, a lot of the convo was about the matchup of the junglers. So the fact that I think that while Skumon did have a good game, like series overall, Shun had a better one. And I think that it wasn't that hard for Bin to outperform BB. The gap between Bin and BB was way bigger than the gap between Shun and Skumon, which is why I think Shun shining was more impressive.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
I mean, for what it's worth, it was I don't think I'm allowed to share the results. It was very close.
Oh, I see.
Player of the series between Shun and Bin. And the finals MVP isn't like just our broadcast voting. It's all of the broadcasts voting. Like every broadcast gets a vote.
A lot of people, yeah.
So it was like the global consensus was for both of them, actually. Like it was almost a tie. But Bin ended up winning, which, I'm happy about because that's who I voted for.
Yeah, I mean, again, like I as I said at the start of this, his impact and performance is not disputable. Like he played incredibly well. So it's not like he didn't deserve it by any means. I was just, but yeah, like ultimately, the thing that's frustrating for me is it just kind of felt like I still feel like G2 can play better than what they did in that series. I just felt like that we see what we often see, which is like G2 seems to figure out Korea and then they just don't have an answer to the LPL. It feels like they put all this brain power into beating Korea. They finally solve it. And then the LPL style is just so different. And they said it themselves, like BLG play faster, BLG play a little bit looser. Their macro is not as good, but that gives them strengths in other ways. And like someone in the chat saying, by the way, Bin only got to do what he did because he played versus BB. If this was Bin versus Zeus or even Keen, BLG wouldn't pick carry top every game. And I do agree with that. Like, would he just pick Camille into Keen on Cassante? I don't know if he would do the same thing. So,
yeah, it's true. But at the same time, the fact that they had that big of a mismatch in top lane is a credit to Bin's skill.
Obviously it is. Obviously it is.
It's going to depend on your voting
100%.
philosophy, whether or not you care if the person they played against is considered to be bad, because what happens in the game is you see a gap between the two players, which is what you can also
I mean, I think at the end of the day, that's what there was, just a colossal gap between the players.
We realized at one point in LCS that we kept giving player of the game to the guy who played against Fake God. And we didn't do it intentionally. It just ended up the guys just kept having really good games.
Right.
But okay. Overall takeaways from the tournament, though, it seems.
Sorry, but I have to say one thing because I have a bit of a gripe. So Bin, right? This year, his top 4 most played in this order: Gnar, Sion, Renekton, Rumble. Okay. So there's someone in the chat that basically says, I disagree, he always plays carries, right? This year, that just hasn't been the case for Bin, okay? Because to me, I think the reason why I think Bin's performance in the final was particularly special was because he played his Jax, his Gwen, his Camille, which people fear, but that has not been the case. Like, he didn't have a good regular season.
Been the case.
Playoffs. Bin really stepped up in playoffs of the LPL. That's where we started to see him come back in form. But these carry style champions have not been his go-to this year. Like the Gnar, the Scion, the Renekton, the Rumble. These are the things that he's often defaulted to, and he's been more of like a role player, and he's still been very good on them. But like, I would say that outside of a couple games in playoffs, the way he dominated BB is not the same as how he's often, and that's not to say that he hasn't had the same impact. Obviously, he's a fantastic player. That isn't under debate here. But just the champions, especially, like, this is his first Camille game all year. Not that he is a stranger to Camille. He used to be a Camille one trick. He's only played 2 Gwen games all year, right? Like, that's more my point, that I think that the player that he was up against, you could tell that as the series went on, he was so confident in his ability to play against BB that he was like a lot more willing to just pick these carry picks, because he's like, I think I can just win on them against this guy, and I think I can have an impact in the game. And that is a testament to his skill.
Yeah, he was doing that a little bit against JDG as well. But that's also because he played 2 best ofs against Xiaoshu and dominated him throughout the playoffs. So
he did, yeah.
I think progressively throughout the year, they shifted their style more towards what we ended up seeing in the final, but it was particularly effective against G2.
And I'm curious if he'll continue.
Surely though,
yeah,
you're still happy with G2's performance. Like the icing of the cake ended up being a little bit off, but the cake itself was gigantic. You probably thought that they could beat BFX, possibly, and make semifinals.
I was hoping it would be competitive, to be completely honest with you. Like,
exactly, and then they ended up making it all the way to finals.
I mean, I was on the desk. I did predict G2 to win, but that was a biased prediction. That wasn't a real one. That was
no, I mean, still an incredible tournament. What the other conversation I wanted to have, and this is more about, it's going to be a little bit about GenG, a little bit about Bin, a little bit about BLG.
Sure.
Is I need to credit, he's like a smaller Twitter guy who does like a bunch of draft modeling. Talk, I think is how you say it. Are you familiar with his Twitter account?
No.
All right, TAK. He was basically saying like all the people that are saying Bin is the best top laner in the world, show me one tier list that had him even in the top, like show me one tier list that said that before this 1 week tournament. Are you like Bin is the best top laner in the whole world?
But like it was Keen and then it was Bin. I'm pretty sure on K-Drill's tier list.
Sure, but that's like a first stand tier list. If you're talking about like world's best players or world's best top laners, like I think the point overall that I want to discuss is how much weight can we put on this 7-day long tournament versus the 3 months of data we had in 2026 or the year of data we had in 2025 to react to who the best players actually are, and how much does GenG drop because of their performance here at first stand.
I mean, objectively, I think it's an overreaction. I hope it's coming through.
I'm getting some leg on my side.
You seem fine on my side, but
okay, perfect.
I think it's obviously an overreaction, just because we don't have the. So, I have too many thoughts. League changes too often for a team to ever really be the best for very long, is my opinion. So often teams that win summer, I mean, we've seen it too many times now, are not the team that win worlds. Like, I think if you go through history, the first seed from a region, the number of times that they win the world championship versus a different seed, I think the number is like 50% or something, or it's like 60%, right? But, and it's because throughout history,
I think the last 1 seed to win Worlds was EDG in 2021.
I think it was EDG, yes.
If that helps.
And then I think Darm1 was the first seed as well the year before.
They also did it, yeah. There was a couple years in a row of it happening, but 22, 23, 24, 25.
I don't remember if IG was the first seed. I don't think IG was the first seed when they won.
They were definitely the best team throughout the year, though, because
but they won because wasn't the whole thing though where Captain Flaz says the crownless are finally king. Their first title was
it was an RNG. It was an RNG Golden Road attempt, but IG was 36-2 in regular season. So it was one of those situations where they were the best team, they just weren't the best playoff team.
Right.
The Shy like burned his hand in Spring Split and missed some time. It was really weird.
Okay. Yeah. Well, anyway, yeah, you're right. 2019, 2020, 2021, I think it was first seeds kept winning. FPX won, Damwon won, and then EDG won. And so my point is though that like typically you'd be surprised if you look at all of history how many times the first seed actually ends up winning the whole tournament.
Yeah, it's not that often.
Yeah, and it's just because the patch changes so dramatically between summer and the start of the World Championship. Often there's like a 3-week gap between the end of summer and World starting. But often when you start playoffs, you start on a patch and then you stay on that patch. So then there's like 4 patches that happen between the start of summer playoffs and then the World Championship, which means that the game is just often so very different, especially as you get closer to the end of the year. So in the same light of right now, if we had had a World Championship situation where we'd sent 3 teams from every single region, is it the first seed that's guaranteed to win? I don't know, is the truth.
No way.
I mean, would BLG still be considered the favorites if we also had DK here? Because that's who it would be, right? It would be DK if a 3rd seed was here. We would have had both KC and Koi here, and then LPL would have had... Well, they would have had JDG and I think WE or Weibo. I mean,
so this is going to sound, I hear what you're saying. This is going to sound like kind of a crazy take, but
Sure.
it's where my mind goes when I introduce this topic is if we take like a month and then go into MSI with the same teams that we sent to first stand, because that's actually seeding wise, that's very close to what we're going to end up getting in MSI. This was an 8-team tournament. MSI is a 10-team tournament, but the only teams they're adding are number 2 from NA and EU, who are not going to be threats to win the tournament unless G2.
Does Brazil get a 2
seed.
at MSI or no?
Brazil gets just their 1, but they go straight into bracket stage.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I want to touch on that format afterwards. MSI is 11 teams, actually. Y'all are right. But the top 8 is likely going to be 2 Korea, 2 China, and then 1-1-1-1 from LCP, LCS, LEC, and CBLOL. Because PCS or...
But doesn't our 2nd seed immediately go in because we got top 2 at first stand? Is that not... Am I misunderstanding?
No. I'll just spit out the format now.
Sure.
MSI is going to be 7 teams that go straight through to the 8-team bracket stage, which is going to be the same as last year's first stand, which is 8-team double elimination bracket.
Right.
The teams that get 2 seeds automatically through is literally the best performing region from first stand, which is the LPL.
Right.
So China gets 2, and then the 6 regions all get 1, including Brazil.
Right.
So that means that the play-in is number 2 of LCK, LEC, LCS, and LCP.
Oh, that's fucked up.
And that's a 4-team double elimination tournament to put 1 team through.
I mean, I'm going to say, I don't think Brazil should have that auto spot.
See, this is the... Okay. This was going to be my... it's time to do this topic change because I can still get my point in after the topic change anyway.
Sure.
It's so close to being my dream format, man.
Really?
It is so close. I think if you throw LCK 2 through and that 4-team play-in is just the bads, which Europe is probably not going to think they belong there.
No,
and
that's fair.
Because
we do. It's all good.
But like based on the last 3 years of data and disregarding just literally this first stand, I think it's super fair that you could throw Korea through. Yeah. Then we'd actually have our non-China Korea tournament that we get to play a bunch of best of 5s to decide who gets to go into the rest of the tournament. We'd actually have, it would be number 1 from Brazil, number 2 from NA, number 2 from EU, and number 2 from LCP. It would be an insane play-in. But now, because Brazil gets through, which I also understand why they're putting Brazil through, because they want to give them a chance to, prove themselves and be at parity since they have done so well in America's Cup and they almost beat, their 1 versus NA's 1. They're like putting them more at parity. So I understand it. But my feeling is that LCK, we're going to spend 6 best of 5s just to confirm that T1 is in fact better than the number 2 seed from all the other regions.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, that's disappointing to me.
Yeah. No, I'm completely like it's always been a thing how Riot use seeding, because they don't use seeding properly, really, do they? If we're being completely honest.
It's just inconsistent because sometimes it's about and it needs to be inconsistent for what it's worth. And
Sure.
every region is going to have their own interpretation of what's fair and what isn't fair. Because if you literally are just trying to make a tournament of like the 16 best teams in the world, it's mostly just going to be Korea and then a little bit less China. You send
Yes.
like 7 LCK teams, which would be a stupid tournament.
No,
And we
no,
can
no.
all
But
agree on that.
that's not what I mean. That's not what I mean. So I think that for worlds and for international formats, you should limit the number of teams that go from a region. Like that's what I think should
Yes.
just because at a certain point,
I agree.
you are just getting a bit ridiculous. Trying to argue that the fifth best team from Korea is somehow better than the first seed from a bunch of other regions. I'm of the opinion that that's too excessive and it's too much. I think it's unnecessary. If you like that, then just watch the LCK. That exists in the LCK already. You know what I mean? But I do think that arguing, like for example, coming into first stand, that the second seed from the LCK and the second seed from the LPL, based on our extensive historical information, are somehow in pool 3. Like that argument,
Oh,
I
sure.
think, is just
Yeah.
like there's not a lot of weight behind that argument, right? Because you're saying that
Yeah.
position holds X weight versus this position that holds Y weight. And like when you put EU first seed and NA first seed and Brazil's first seed all at the same weight as LPL's first seed and LCK's first seed, and then you say that these weigh more than the second seeds from all these other regions, I'm like, guys, we're just going to have an odd looking tournament. We're going to get a situation where, like, the thing that I loved about old Worlds was when Albus Nox Luna. So, for those in the chat that don't know, back in 2016 at the World Championship, there was a group with CLG, G2, Albus Nox Luna, who was a representative from Russia, and who was the last team? Was it Rox Tigers? It was Rox, right?
Yeah. That was the
So
group.
everyone was unanimous that Rox Tigers was first in that group. And then second seed, most people put G2, with obviously a lot of fan favorites arguing CLG, because that same year CLG did get finals of MSI, if I'm remembering correctly, 2016, right? So
Yep.
there was good debate between, but basically the group was going to be decided by EU versus NA, was the consensus, right?
Yep.
And then in the first match, CLG beat G2, from what I remember.
Yep.
So
I have clear memories of this group.
yeah,
It was
so
not
everyone's
good
sitting here
memories.
remembering, and they're like, "Holy shit, CLG is going to get out of this group." And then I think that in the head to like it was 1-1 versus Rox Tigers too, as well, right?
DOG actually took a game off of Rocks Tigers. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're poised and primed to get out of this group. And then I think they lose 2-0. No, they lose 2-0 to Albus Nox Luna, right?
They 2-0 G2 and they 0-2'd Albus Nox.
Yeah.
And 1-1 Rocks and went 3-3 and didn't make it out.
Yeah, and they don't make it out. And then
Yeah.
G2 went 1-5.
I will remind you, G2
Yeah.
went 1-5.
Yeah, they did,
so-
right? And I mean, that's back then was when G2 was like, they were a thing.
All right, what's the point, Vedi? Come on.
But my
I
point
know
is that allowed, like, they proved their weight against good teams, right? But they weren't
Correct.
given extra advantages. They were put against heavyweights and then given an opportunity, right, to prove themselves. And that's what I think the whole point of like a play-in situation is supposed to be. Because then when you get to what is the main bulk of the tournament, which in that case was the World Championship, people always undermine H2K's achievement because they say they beat Albus Nox. But it's like, well, Albus Nox had to beat CLG, the MSI finalists. They had to challenge Rox Tigers and they had to face G2. That wasn't an easy group for them to get out of. And so I feel like if you just chucked Albus Nox into the quarterfinals, and then they got knocked out 3-0 by H2K, everyone sits there and goes, why did we put Albus Nox in the quarterfinals? You know? And so that's why my mentality is very much of like, I'm fine with giving Brazil an opportunity. I think that they have earned their seat at the table. I just think that if we just put them straight into that position, it just doesn't set them up for success. It doesn't actually give them an opportunity to prove
I
themselves.
agree. I think it's more likely they win more games at MSI if they get to be in the play-in rather than get to be directly in the bracket stage.
Yeah.
So I think you're actually setting them up to lose more games and look
Correct.
worse and
That's what I think.
take out their seeds in the future rather than putting them in the play-in, which I think would be better for them overall.
Correct.
I agree.
Especially after what Furia did to G2 last year, when they actually pushed them to 5 games. And then everyone really started going, maybe they do deserve a seat at the table, right? And that's my point. Like,
Absolutely.
if there's more parity between the second seeds and the first seed from Brazil, I just think that that makes for a more engaging tournament. And I also think that the Brazilian fans get to enjoy more because do you know what the format for that play-ins part is? Like, do you know what games are happening?
It is 4-team double elimination that puts one through. So the first 2 days will be double best of 5. The next 2 days will be double best of 5. And then the next 2 days can't be double best of 5 because it's the old GSL groups. It's the same group format we used at First Stand.
So it's a Swiss
right?
thing. Well, yeah, it's not Swiss.
It's
but yeah.
it's essentially Swiss, but it's just 4-team double limb
Yeah, exactly.
at the end of the day.
Yeah. Top two make it through.
Because
basically.
there could be a situation where at the very end, the team that only loses one best of 5 is just eliminated once they're in that final, right? Because LCK could win the first 2.
Oh my god,
and then
you're
whatever
right.
team comes
That
from
makes
the lower
it so
bracket.
much worse, actually.
Okay, that's not confirmed. That's just my guess of the way it would have to work. Yeah. Anyway,
yeah.
This was a big tangent. There was actually a bunch of stuff I wanted to respond to about 2016 Worlds, but I think this is for a different time.
Probably.
I think I need to control myself and not mention
Because we're
these
40
things.
minutes into the podcast right now.
Exactly. And there's more pertinent things than going back 10 years to talk about Worlds formats. Here's the crazy take that I was going to make.
Yeah.
If we were to play MSI in a month,
Yeah.
I think I'd make GenG the favorites over BLG.
Yeah, of course you would. Everyone
Which
would.
sounds... Would they, though? Because
Yeah, without a
BLG's
doubt.
number 1 in the power
Without a
rankings.
doubt.
There's Bin's best player in the world.
Everyone would put GenG because the reality is, bro.
This isn't a hot take, then?
One
Okay,
series is not enough to knock them off the pedestal. They've already earned the accolade of international chokers, right? Like they just they have that. There's nothing they can do about it. And like whether they like it or not, it just is what it is. Because now it's not just happened at Worlds, it's now happened at First Stand. So like, I'm sorry, GenG. I don't want to brand you as that. I know you've got super talented players. I'll still put you as the first seed coming into MSI. But like that's just what it is, right? It is what it is. So
Other thought about GenG.
Yeah.
How? Because I agree with you. I called Chovy a choker at the end of our last podcast, but I also need to check myself a little bit because he's won. I don't have exact 5 LCKs. I think maybe 6.
It depends if you count this one. I think he's at 6 if you count this one.
Right, 6 if you count this one, but it's a cup, so LCK isn't going to count it, but a lot of people would.
Yeah.
And 2 MSIs, and then he's gone to Worlds 7 or 8 times and always made at least quarterfinals. Like, how insanely high are the standards for this guy when, even when he chokes, he's top 4 in the world?
Absolutely, yeah.
So he has more unfair standards than any player in history.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, I do actually agree with you. Like I thought he played like butt against G2. I thought the whole GenG team did choke that series away. G2 played amazingly, but we even discussed it. GenG made mistakes that they would never make.
A 3-0
like
does
they
not
wouldn't make.
happen if like there isn't some involvement of someone underperforming. Like it just can't.
Yes.
Throughout history,
Yeah.
like I think that G2 did good things in the series versus BLG, which is why it was 3-1, right? Which shows that like G2 can beat BLG, but I think BLG was better, right? But a 3-0, for that to happen, someone's got to be underperforming, bro. Like they have to be. Or the gap is so unbelievably massive that it's not even a... Which I think between like top teams is rare. Normally the gap isn't that big. So, but I would still put GenG as favorites coming into MSI. It's also just their tournament. They've won it, the last 2 years now?
They have. And part of it, to me, if they have a mental block, the double the limb helps remove the pressure
you
of
seem
that
to be
mental
convinced
block.
that the double a limb is the thing. When they've only ever gone into that double eliminum once, which was back in 2023.
Correct. They've won it from the upper bracket both times, I think.
The last 2 years,
the 2 times they won, they didn't even need the double limb. But the fact that it exists and they're allowed to lose means when they go down in the series, who cares? And then once they're in the finals, they already have the confidence of recently beating the team that they're playing against. So then they're just like, we just do it again.
Yeah.
Single elimination is how you stop GenG from winning Worlds.
So someone asked, where would G2 end up is the question, which is a great question. And the truth is that like in this MSI scenario.
Okay. I would put them... I would still actually... I feel like they're top 5-ish. They're like right in that 5-4-3 zone would be where my expectations were if they pop in now.
My opinion is if G2 had played JDG, they would have won at First Stand based on how everyone was playing. So
Based
I
on how
think,
JDG was playing as well.
yeah,
I think.
so I think that if we assume right now that like GenG had a bad best of 5 against them, right?
Yeah.
And if you are someone who wants to put more skepticism on G2, then you would 100% put G2 somewhere in the 3rd, 4th, 5th category, probably.
Yeah, exactly.
Depending on how optimistic you are on G2's ability to maintain their level of success.
Which actually makes the LoL Esports Global Power Rankings, as much as we hate them,
I don't hate them.
they're
I love
feeling
it.
pretty good right now.
I love how
Vedius.
it rage baits everyone. I think it's fantastic.
They're feeling pretty good right now, actually. Have you seen the update for the LoL Esports
Yeah, I
Global
did see
Power
it
Rankings?
because so we had so many
me pop
debates when
these
we were
up.
at the airport about it actually because we were trying to understand how HLE went down so much. Because
Okay.
basically, so here's the conversation Medic and I had, right? Where he was arguing, well, when a team plays, they lose points, right? So GenG earns a bunch of points because they beat all these teams and they go to first hand, they lose points. Whereas CFO
Correct.
doesn't lose points because they didn't play. They've already lost, in theory, the points they would have lost. And then the bit that confused me was I was like, but hang on, how does HLE then lose points? Because HLE hasn't played. In theory, they've already lost
explain.
points to GenG. So how are they now retroactively losing points, but CFO isn't retroactively losing points when CFO also lost to Team Secret Wales, who also lost at first stand?
I can explain. Did you read I put stuff in the chat,
What chat?
for how it works. So in the WhatsApp when I was posting Power
Oh,
Rankings, but
I wasn't
I wasn't
reading
at the
that,
airport
bro.
with you.
Sorry. Yeah.
So yeah, blah, blah, blah.
Sorry.
No, so they lose points because did they updated it again? I swear the screenshot I sent you had a bunch of LCK teams dropping down.
They did, yeah. HLE dropped
yeah,
2 points. I think, who was it? HLE dropped, and then they dropped below a different LCK team. They were like the 4th
So
ranked
it's
LCK
because
team.
the rating is twofold. It is the strength of your region,
Right.
which dictates how important the wins you had within the region are. So because BFX and GenG did so poorly, the regional strength of the LCK went down. Therefore, HLE loses overall ranking because the LEC teams like giga popped off
Yeah, they
based
all
on
went up,
G2.
didn't they? They
They
went
all
up.
got to go up. Exactly. I feel like what's really weird is I'm going to the global power rankings on my PC right now, and I'm not seeing the movement that I saw in the screenshots when I was checking it when you guys were at the airport, which is really confusing
it
me.
seems that the movement seems to be, I think they update it maybe every week or something, and now because it's been updated, they haven't moved anymore. They're just staying where they are.
Yeah, but there's even everything is weird actually. So
Is
I don't
G2
even know
still
if I want to
3
speak
or
on
have they
this.
moved?
I mean, GT's still 3, but their points are different. So I don't know what's happened.
Oh.
Yeah, they were at 1519 when we took this screenshot when we were at the airport, and now they're at 1507. So I think they like ran the algorithm again with a tweak,
Interesting.
which makes it really weird. I think we can no longer do this segment because I'm no longer prepared.
Well, how is it adjusted?
I had all these screenshots.
Has anything's changed? Well, don't you still have the screenshots?
Well, I have screenshots of JDG dropping and TES moving above them, and I have the
That was
elos of
funny.
all the LEC teams, which is just different now because like Koi, it's very small. Like Koi was at 15, they'd moved up 2 spots. Now they're at 16, which would be 1 spot from the. It's just weird.
Oh.
Yeah, I
Well,
think we need to abort.
well,
I think we need to
okay,
abort this
fine.
discussion.
Well,
Yeah,
either way,
until
I
we
think
can
it's
find
funny
more.
because I think that it's just massive rage bait, and I just love how invested people
It
get
is.
in it because they get so angry
It
about
is.
something that ultimately doesn't really matter.
But I do think G2 does actually kind of deserve where they're at the moment.
Yeah.
Even if there's other stuff that doesn't look right, the current like 1, 2, 3, 4 looks pretty accurate to me. Like BLG 1, GenG 2, G2 3, and T1 4.
Wait, GenG actually got kicked out of one.
Yeah, right? Because
Then that
originally
is an
when we
update.
saw it,
That is an update.
They definitely updated it.
Yeah, because
Okay, something weird
GenG
happened.
was rank 1, without a doubt. I remember looking at it, and I thought that GenG still deserved to be in rank 1. I thought that losing to G2 wouldn't lose you that much elo, but I guess that is basically a challenger player losing to a diamond player, so you're probably going to lose a lot of elo for that.
I feel like we caught them in a tweak. I feel like they saw that BLG wasn't 1, and they tweaked the algorithm until it barely put them above GenG, and that did other stuff. That's my conspiracy theory right here.
I'm actually very surprised. I think if we're working off an ELO-like system, I know it's not ELO, but I think that BLG winning overall, because they never directly played against GenG, shouldn't have ever put them above GenG, is kind of how I think it should be. I think they should be second in any sort of point system, even if they win first stand.
All right, we got 15 minutes until you're hard out. I want to talk about LEC a little bit.
Oh, sure.
Because y'all start on Saturday.
Yeah, don't remind me, bro. I thought I had a week off. I don't. I'm back. Yeah.
So G2 gets a week off, but no rest for you, bucko.
No rest.
So
I love that you're calling me bucko now.
You pick up the language of the people you spend time with, which is an unfortunate truth. I need to get some Americanisms into your academy or into your vocabulary
All my
somehow.
British family says I sound way more American, so I blame everyone for that.
This is good. You can blame me. Although I'm a little Canadian in my accent.
So
as
schedule,
well.
based on what I see.
We thought,
go on.
We thought, Vedi, that LEC LCS share the same format, and they kind of do, because we're both playing best of 3 single round robin.
Yeah.
But as we were discussing, across 7 weeks, we're doing best of 1 single round robin across 7 weeks. We're both the same in that sense. But with 8 teams in LCS, very simple. Every team plays once a week. We play Saturday, Sunday, 2 best of 3s. After 7 weeks, everyone plays everyone. We move on. 10 teams is different because you're still compressing it to 7 weeks.
Yep.
But this means all LEC is going to be, not all LEC, but most of LEC, you're going to be playing 3 best of 3s on Saturday.
Yep.
2 on Sunday, 2 on Monday. But then also, because you were doing 2 road shows that don't involve every team, you're consistently having uneven numbers of games between the teams, not to mention G2 is starting late. So they're playing their whole regular season within 6 weeks.
Yes, sir.
And I saw the craziest thing. They play 3 best of 3s in the last week of the regular season.
Yep.
So they're going to be behind in games the whole year until the end.
I think that's the Koi Roadshow, I think.
I think
Week
so.
7, Friday, 8th of May to Sunday, 10th of May. Yeah, I think this is the Koi Roadshow, I think. So yeah, they're playing, their schedule on that weekend, by the way, is they play KC day 1, they play GX day 2, and then they play Koi day 3. So in theory, they play the 2 best teams in the very final week leading into playoffs.
Damn.
Well, technically, they are playing the top 4 teams because that's GX, KC, and Koi were all top 4 from last split.
For what it's worth, that's like not bad for G2 because they like to scale throughout the split anyway.
Definitely
so if they want to like really be like deep 7th place, then they can do that the whole time and then just smurf in the last week.
Yeah, so basically this is a situation where like the LEC obviously wants to provide the roadshows for fans, but you can't bring 10 teams to a roadshow. You just can't.
Yep.
Correct. How the invites work or which teams get chosen, I couldn't tell you. I have no idea how that's decided or what. But what I do know is, and again, I'm taking all of this information from the Leaguepedia. So I'm trying to make sure that I don't accidentally leak anything.
Yep, could be wrong, could be right.
But
that's what
like,
Leaguepedia says.
Yeah, I'm using what I see on Leaguepedia to inform me. But yeah, as a result of the roadshows specifically, we've basically got situations where certain teams they cannot play every week. So yeah, it's going to be a bit of a weird one for sure. And I think we're not going to have a super clean regular season. What I can say is the first 3 weeks, every Saturday will be triple best of 3. And then we just go to double best of 3 for the rest of spring.
Yeah. And also, no big roster changes across LEC.
Not that
or
I've
LCS.
heard. Yeah, not that I've heard.
Yeah.
I don't think, are there any
I saw
roster
Sheep
changes?
Esports. Sheep Esports made a tweet that he was like, man, what a slow off season. I think he mentioned one roster change that was like really minor. But I think overall that is a good thing because Split 1 this whole time is supposed to be a kickoff tournament, not like a whole split. And I just think for the development of the teams and the players that it's actually better
They're
this
saying
way.
Stend got dropped, so Heretics have a new support. I need to look into that. I don't know about that.
That's still really minor compared to what we've seen throughout full off seasons or even spring into summer. Sure. So I think overall it's probably good for both regions that there's relatively minimal turnover since the first split did end up being very short. What's your quick thought though on your LEC power rankings?
Oh God!
Give me a quick power ranking because you've seen them all in versus.
So
Nothing's changed.
So Na'Vi will probably be a bit worse. I
Okay.
mean, basically because I think Na'Vi started strong because they had a good foundation and knew how to work. But I think that as teams figure out how they want to play together, they will just get better. So ultimately, it depends on how much growth potential Na'Vi has as a roster. So my instincts are that Na'Vi will just kind of be a little bit worse just because other teams will get better. I think Shifters should just objectively be better than what they were. Their roster on paper was already very good, but they clearly had a lot of issues playing together as a team. And so I think Shifters should go up. SK is the biggest anomaly to me, bro. I have no idea what to think of SK. So
I'm going to give you
go
this. This will be to get it in structure. I'm going to give you the LoL Esports Global Power Rankings, and you're going to tell me where you move them.
Okay, sure.
Number 1, G2.
Yeah.
Number 2, KC.
Yeah, it's still the same.
Number 3, MKOI.
Yeah, it's still the same.
Number 4, Fnatic.
Nah, that's correct.
And Vitality, tied.
Vitality definitely go above Fnatic.
Okay, number 6, Giants.
So GX
Giant
should still
X.
be above Fnatic. GX should be above Fnatic.
Okay, and above Vitality?
No. So it's Vitality, then GX.
Okay. Vitality 4, GX 5, currently Fnatic 6, but you might still move them down. Shifters.
Yeah, Shifters going up one as well.
Above Fnatic. So Fnatic goes to 7, Shifters goes to 6. Team Heretics.
They're below Fnatic.
Okay, great. We found their spot at 8th. Na'Vi?
Oh, Na'Vi. Oh. Navi's probably above Shifters, probably.
Ooh,
That's
okay.
odd. Navi's
I
probably
know. And then
above
last team,
Shifters.
SK. Last team is SK.
No clue. Anywhere between 2 and 10.
I love SK, man. They definitely lost a lot of elo last year and then also at the start of this year because they were close in so many games and then lost. Okay, that'll be fun. I want to do the same thing for LCS now, actually.
Sure.
LCS is a mess, man. Oh, no. Oh, this reminds me now that we're on LCS and Team Liquid scrims. Really, Vedius, we shouldn't be surprised that G2 made finals because
Why?
they've been winning scrims at Worlds for years.
Oh, really?
And eventually,
had to
scrims will
pay
go to
off.
stage.
Right.
All the Scrim World Championship memes, it finally went to stage.
But they didn't win. They lost LPL again.
But they're close enough. Like that's more indicative of the scrim results they've been posting.
Listen, this is what I've decided, okay? KC or Koi have to dedicate their whole lives to beating LPL teams. Nothing else, right? Then G2 will deal with Korea. We've already assigned that role to them. G2 will get the Korean side of the upper bracket, and then KC or Koi will get the LPL side, okay? And we just need one of those teams to become specialists at beating the LPL, and then we can have our EU World Finals, and then I don't care who wins. Whoever.
That would be
Doesn't matter.
crazy.
Yeah, so
There's no way that happens. but-
KC or Koi have got to beat the LPL. G2 will deal with Korea, and then we'll have our EU finals, and then all will be good. Or LPL can maybe put some weight up, you know? Maybe you could contribute. If you could knock the LPL out like you did back in 2019, that would be fucking great. So could you lock in, please? Can we just find a solution to the LPL?
We
I'm
need
so
to
angry
lock in
you guys lost to
'cause
JDG. That was ridiculous.
we still have FlyQuest #1 in our power rankings, which is not true.
Someone wrote
So-
Cope after one series win. It was 2, bucko. It wasn't 1.
It
Get
was
wrecked.
2. Well, the first one was not surprising. The second one was.
The first one was surprising that VFX was power ranked by everyone above G2. That is some very convenient rewriting of history.
They were just doing
Because
what they were
because
supposed
now
to do.
everyone is saying, BFX was the 5th seed anyway. They weren't the real 2nd seed. You know,
No, I
you
was saying
said that.
beforehand.
Everyone's
to
saying
poison
it
the
now.
well. I was poisoning the well. Yeah. It was great. I successfully poisoned the well.
Yeah, you've successfully
They were good.
poisoned the well.
Just
That's
wait
true.
until BFX is also the MSI rep, and we'll see what
That's
happens.
going to be so great. I can't wait for that. Because what will happen is the rematch will happen, and then they'll shit on G2, as is customary for Korean teams getting revenge on us.
Perhaps. Okay, LCS is going to start in 2 weeks. LEC starts next week. I have to put Lion as #1
Sure.
because they won, and right behind them, I have to put C9 for as disgusting as they played. I still feel like they deserve to be #2. Then I'm putting TL3 because I do think scrims matter. I'll put. These are disgusting power rankings to make, man. I'm going to Sentinels 4, FlyQuest 5, DSG 6, Shopify 7, Dig 8.
Hang on a
That's my LCS
second.
power ranking.
Those are fine, but I've just realized something.
Okay.
The Americas have snuck 3 seeds into MSI.
Hell
You
yeah, we have.
Cheeky devil, you.
Number
I've
one
just
region.
realized.
We
that
also
you
have
just,
5 seeds
you
at Worlds.
Snuck that in. That's crazy, actually. You suddenly decided, you guys are right. Brazil deserves a spot. Let's just conveniently slide that in while also allowing all of North America, even after getting bodied by Brazil, the same number of seeds. Wow. You sneaky devils, you.
Listen, bud. You've avoided having to play against the Titans that are Brazil.
No, we
NA
haven't.
has a better record against EU than they do against Brazil the last 3 years. So
True. That's true.
You need to have your Brazilian equivalent. This region that everyone doesn't think is that good, but is actually sleeper. You don't even have to play against them. Geographically, you're closer to them than we are. So why isn't it the League of the Europe America? Like, why isn't it I don't know what you call it.
I don't know what Coco threatening right now, but listen, EU's going to body both Brazil and America. We will establish ourselves as the dominant force. In fact,
you know what? They should change
wait.
it, put Brazil in play-in, and you can prove it. But unless that happens, we're high chance of NA versus EU at MSI. That's the silver lining of those play-ins.
Are we? Really?
We're almost for sure to play. Yeah, because it's double limb. So unless one of us sneaky beats
Yeah, but last year we
LCK
dodged each other because there's the rules about other side of the bracket shenanigans.
No, last year we dodged each other because America's 2, we would have had C9 versus G2 in play-in if Brazil didn't get a seed. Because it would have been the 2 seeds
G2 versus
EU and NA.
FlyQuest. You got that. My point
Yeah, I
is
know.
that if there's only one NA and one EU, what ends up happening is they get put on either side of the bracket because you have 2 LPL and 2 LCK.
I know, but in play-in, we're going to get number 2 EU versus number 2
that's
NA
what you
almost
mean.
for sure.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, for sure. Then once MSI happens, who the hell knows? Like once it's 8 teams.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we need to wrap up. Do you have any final thoughts on this week of Mind the Gap?
Yeah, NA bad, EU still the best. This is gonna suck for you guys because now we're gonna ride this copium until for another 6 years. This will do as good for
sure.
a while.
So the only thing that I am looking forward to is when we get to play you again, because you've raised the profile of Europe, which means when we beat you, like we have usually done the past 3 years.
Nah, dude, we've been slumping.
We can take more credit.
You've been beating Fnatic. You beat G2 last year when we were bad. Okay,
we 3-0'd you with exactly the same players you have now.
You 3-0'd our second seed, bro. G2 was second seed and they were bad then. They made finals, then they would lose. That's mega Cobra. You never played against Koi. You never did. You never played against.
What about when we beat? No, remember when we beat KC, your number 1 seed at first
on day
hand?
1 when they were mega jet lagged.
Yeah.
What happened to TL after that? What happened? Remind me.
They lost because
Well, we were in the final because we beat CFO. Remember that?
We did beat CFO.
Yeah,
something
thank
we could
you.
never do. You need to beat us directly.
And then what happened at Worlds, Bucko?
We lost that one, but it's because in the previous years we've been winning at Worlds.
With FlyQuest
I
gone,
think it's still a rivalry. I don't think you've completely passed
brother.
us
At this
yet.
point,
you're,
you're going to be rooting for IU teams because it's Jojo and Busio at Worlds. Let's just be real. They're going to be your
I'm
going to
have to.
Yeah.
Although, as weird as it is, man, and I need to be 100% honest on this, as I've given G2 a lot of credit, I was still heavily rooting against them in the final. I know that's mean, but I really wanted them to lose. I love all their players. I respect their staff. I know my colleagues root for them, but I was really happy that BLG beat them. I need to be honest.
You son of a bitch.
You were happy that Lion lost to JDG2, I bet.
No, I
bet
wasn't.
you
I wanted them to win.
Oh, come
Only to watch them get rolled by BLG so that people couldn't hold BLG getting 3-0ing G2 over it.
It's always in service of something else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But my favorite fact is whenever I spoke to Azale about I've spoken to you about it as well. Every time NA achieves anything, EU then ruins it for you. EU is the region that literally ruins all of it. Your only exception... So you guys got 2016 MSI Finals, which was fantastic. And then what does G2 do?
Sure.
MSI Finals the year later. And they didn't beat Flash Wolves to get there. They beat WE. And then at Worlds in 2018, you guys make semifinals by 3-0ing Afrika Freaks. And then Fnatic go and 3-0 you.
And then you beat IG, world champions. Everyone's thinking we can fucking win. And then G2 beat you in the fastest international best of 5 to this day. That record still hasn't been broken.
That one was definitely the worst of all of them. Yeah.
The only highlight you've had is that you went 5 games against GenG, which you could ride for a while. And you have been riding, right?
Oh,
and
but
now
you went
G2 has gone
GenG.
3-0'd and 3-0'd, and then so now you don't even get that anymore. So EU, you think that there's a rivalry? We've been beating you down. Every accomplishment you make, G2 yoinks it from you. They just fucking take it, bro.
You still, Palafox, in fact, and Dokla are still the high watermark in that case, because
that is hilarious.
Yeah, we beat Caps.
Dokla's win rate against Caps is probably positive.
Yeah. If I said that we eliminated G2 from Worlds, I think half the people would believe that at face value. But what actually happened is we then let Bin eliminate you from Worlds. So that's what actually is, because BLG is the one who's actually kicked you out in multiple years in a row.
Yes, that's great.
Okay. You got to go to the airport.
I'm leaving in 10 minutes,
Yeah. So thank you for watching Mind the Gap. Once again, I know we got a little rambly towards the end of the episode, but we wanted to get one in after MSI. Sorry for the people that showed up at the end of the episode, because we did start a little early, but you can definitely check out this podcast on the JLXP YouTube channel. I will also be doing an episode with Emily to go over LPL, since they are the best region in the world after First Stand, based off of First Stand results.
Supposedly.
Maybe not completely the best, but we'll be doing that on Thursday in 2 days, so look out for that on the JLXP YouTube channel. And we will be back with Mind the Gap at our normal time, which is actually
Tuesday.
not, we don't know for sure, because you're doing daylight savings. So we'll decide. It happens on Sunday.
Oh,
this week for you.
Do I lose an hour?
We've already
or gain
done
an
daylight
hour?
savings.
Is this the bad one?
God damn it.
This is the bad one.
Well, I will post on YouTube exactly the time, but it's going to be later than what we did here.
Is it?
By a little bit.
Oh, yeah, probably.
We're likely doing it 7 p.m. your time in Central European Summer.
He's rambling again. Sorry, everyone. If you made it to the end of the episode, hashtag EU greater than NA. Thank you so much. That does it for this episode, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.